Hello, my name is Michelle, and I'm the Training Team Manager here at ServiceLive. I'd like to welcome you to the Introduction to ServiceLive Service Order Management training. Today, we are covering a basic overview of how to manage service orders on ServiceLive. There are two groups that use the ServiceLive platform. There are buyers and providers. The people or companies that need work done are called buyers. They create the orders and pay the providers for their work. They essentially buy services. The people or companies that do the work are called providers. That's you. You provide the service or do the work. Buyers create orders that are posted to one or more companies on ServiceLive. If the order is routed to more than one provider, the order acts like a jump ball in the sense that the person quickest to accept the order then has it to do the work. To manage your orders, you'll log in to provider.servicelive.com. So let's begin at the web address provider.servicelive.com, where you will see a blue button to log in to ServiceLive. Click on it to go to the login page. Now enter the username and password that you created during the registration process. The username will likely be the main email address you registered with. Notice the links where you can click to tell ServiceLive that you forgot either your username or your password. After correctly answering security questions, you'll receive an email from ServiceLive. But if you need your password, please be aware that ServiceLive does not store that. Your password request will result in ServiceLive sending you a new temporary password, which, when you enter it, will prompt you to enter a new permanent password. Please remember, ServiceLive does not allow you to reuse a password you've used in the past. Once you log in, you should see a page similar to the one that's currently on the screen. This is the ServiceLive dashboard. Toward the top of the screen, there are tabs: Dashboard, Service Order Monitor, ServiceLive Wallet, and Order Management. Today we will focus on the Order Management tab, but before going there, let's look at what the dashboard includes. The first section is Service Order Statistics, which gives you an overview of all the active orders on your ServiceLive account. Each of them is a link, and all but a couple of them are also order statuses or sub-statuses. Today, orders automatically move to this link when the date and time window for the service to be done has passed, which means all the service orders on this link have an active service window. Accepted. These orders have been accepted by the company, but are waiting for the date and time window of service to arrive. Pending cancel. Only a buyer can put an order into pending cancel status. These orders need you to agree or disagree to the cancellation. Received. All of these orders were sent by buyers. Now you need to look at them and decide whether or not to accept them. Bid request. This is not a common order type on ServiceLive. Typically, these orders are for larger commercial jobs that require a site visit and a submission for the price of parts and labor to complete a job. Pending reschedule. These orders need to have a new service window accepted and updated. Problem. Both the provider and the buyer can put orders into problem status. Problem orders need to be resolved as quickly as possible and usually result in a call between the provider and the buyer. Estimation requests. This order type is only used on the ServiceLive direct-to-consumer site. It is very similar to bid requests, but for different buyers. Right below Service Order Statistics is the Communication Monitor. This is where you will see new invitations to join Select Provider Networks, or SPNs. You can see what buyer is sending the invite, the type of work you're being invited to complete, as well as the date and time the invitation was sent and when it will expire. If you have not yet downloaded the mobile app, you can get more information about it on the link right below the communication monitor. This app is free, so you are strongly encouraged to download it and see all the ways it helps you manage your orders. Now to the left of the screen, we have Performance and Profile Statistics. This is where you can see your ratings for paid service orders. ServiceLive Status Monitor. This represents your company's registration status on ServiceLive. ServiceLive Approved means that you have completed your registration and are eligible to receive work through the platform. Provider registration status tells you how many of your technicians have completed their profile on ServiceLive. Provider background checks lets you see a count of all the technician background checks and their current status. For member offers, click on this box to view available discounts and services offered to you as a ServiceLive provider. They do change from time to time, so be sure that you look at them periodically. Lastly, we have the Spn Monitor box, where we can see the status of each Spn membership. Spn memberships must be in a member status to receive that buyer's available work. If you have questions or concerns about invitations received in the Communication Monitor or your current SPN statuses, I'll provide some contact numbers at the end of our session for you to reach the needed department. Now we're going to take a look at the ServiceLive Wallet. The wallet is where you can see the payments made from buyers on service orders. Notice that 3 of these tabs have a green check mark on them. Be sure while logged into your account to make sure you have all 3 green check marks on your wallet, because without all 3, a buyer cannot pay you for work. We first have the Overview tab. This displays the 25 most recent paid transactions from the last 30 days. The Financial Profile is one of the tabs with a green check mark. This is where you enter a point of contact for all things financial for your company. It's important that you list a person in your company who has the authority and knowledge to talk about all things financial. This is who we will contact if needed. The Manage Accounts tab is where you enter your bank account information. This is the checking or savings account where you will transfer money from your ServiceLive wallet. For checking accounts, be sure you are taking the routing number and account number from a check and not a deposit slip. Some banks have different numbers on deposit slips and checks. This is the second tab with a green check mark. When you are ready to transfer funds from your ServiceLive wallet to your bank account, the Manage Funds tab is where you will do that. This is the third and final tab that must have a green check mark. The History tab is a lot like the Overview tab. The difference is that you can view transactions you select from a specified time period. The Reports tab is very much like the History screen, but has the added capability to export the selected transactions as an Excel spreadsheet if you need to save them to your computer or send them to your CPA or tax person. Reports take a while to create and will show up as pending initially, so be prepared to wait. Realize that ServiceLive has to search for all the orders from the time period you selected. Along with updating the ServiceLive wallet, accurate W-9 information is crucial for financial transactions. You'll find this information by hovering over Administrator Office and selecting W-9 Legal Tax Information. Now to order management. Order management is where you will spend a majority of your time when you are on ServiceLive. The links on the left-hand side walk you logically through the life cycle of a service order, all the way from accepting to printing paperwork to completing and closing for payment. The number next to each link indicates how many service orders are in that status. The inbox holds every active service order that you have on ServiceLive. All statuses from received to awaiting payment are found in the inbox. It is not recommended that you process service orders from the inbox, but instead, use the links on the left-hand side of the screen. Keep in mind, the inbox is helpful to get an overview of all the active service orders you have. There are some things that every link on the left-hand side have in common. I'm going to go over those things now using the inbox, so we don't have to cover them again each time we talk about a new link. We have the status and substatus, which is the current status of the order. Title and service order ID, the name of the order and the service order number if assistance is needed. The service location, which is the end customer's address. Service appointment, the date and time window of the expected service. Schedule status, which is where you'll see recent actions or actions that need to be taken. The scope, which is the specific skill for the order. The provider, which is the person assigned to the order. You have a column for a flag, and you can highlight a flag as a visual cue for yourself that the order is important. And price. This is the payment amount on the order for the service described. There's only so much information displayed about the service order in each row, but there's always more information available by clicking on the blue Title Service Order ID link. Now we are in a service order, and we are on the Summary tab. Remember, the buyer creates the service order, and they try to give all the details you will need to do the work. The General Information section gives the date and time of the service appointment, an overview or short description of the service needed, and special instructions if there are any. One of the fields in this section is the buyer terms and conditions. Buyers explain what they expect from the provider while doing the service. This is required by ServiceLive because it is the legal part of the order. When a provider accepts an order on ServiceLive, the order becomes a legally binding contract between the provider and the buyer. You'll see as we continue that changes to an order after it's accepted may require both the provider and the buyer to take action. The Scope of Work section gives the address and phone number of the service location, plus service location notes, like a gate code. This is also where you see a full scope of work referred to as task comments. The Parts section tells you whether you bring the parts, the buyer sends the parts, or if no parts are needed. The Contact Information section has the name, address, and phone numbers for the end customer, plus the name, address, and phone number for the buyer. Remember, when something doesn't make sense in the order, you should call the buyer with your questions. The Documents and Photos section can have a variety of items to assist you with completing the service. Be sure to look at each of these so you print and take what may be needed with you to the job site. As we return to the inbox, the last column is a set of actions. There are two types of actions that are available in each link. These actions will differ depending on what link you are on, but will always be available. The main action is the large button. This points you towards the next step that's needed based on the status of the order. Secondary actions are available under the drop-down arrow. When you first have an order routed to you, it will appear in the Respond link. You will also receive an email notification from ServiceLive about a new opportunity. The actions you can take are to accept, reject, or submit a counteroffer. I'd like to note that you may have auto-accept depending on what buyer you will be completing service orders for, and may not have these options. When you click the main action button to accept, it will open a pop-up box that guides you through accepting a service order. There are some basic service order details listed at the top of the pop-up box. You also have an option to assign a provider or service technician to the job right away, or you can wait to assign the provider. If you choose not to assign the provider when you accept, you'll be able to do so later in the Assign Provider or Manage Route links. But it's best to assign a provider right here. If you are interested in completing a job but think the date, time, or price is not a match, you can submit a counteroffer. To submit a counteroffer, click on the drop-down arrow and select Counteroffer from the drop-down menu. This will open the order on the Summary tab. You'll be directed to the box to enter the counteroffer. Here you will fill out any required information for your counteroffer, and also set an expiration date and time for the counteroffer. When you click Submit, the order will save what you have entered, and the buyer will see your counteroffer, review it, and make a decision as to whether or not to accept. You may wonder why you would enter a date and time for the counteroffer to expire. The expiration helps both you and the buyer, because no one wants to wait for days to get the order accepted and make contact with the end customer, so the expiration date helps move things along. If for any reason you are not able to accept the service order, it is highly recommended you take the steps to reject the service order. You might wonder if rejecting the order is considered a negative, but it isn't at all. Contrary to that idea, rejecting an order can be positive for you and the buyer. As the date of service gets closer and the service order has not been accepted by anyone, the buyer will call providers who have not taken any action and request that they do so. By rejecting the order, you're taking action, and you'll avoid that call. To reject the service order, you'll click the drop-down arrow and select Reject Order. When the pop-up box appears, select to reject service order for all pros, making sure to select a reason for rejecting and enter additional comments that give more detail to the reason selected. Then click the yellow Reject button. I'm going to cover the Schedule link and the Confirm Appointment link together because these two links operate in the same way. Both require a phone call to the end customer to confirm the service order details. The screens in both links look exactly the same. The difference is that the phone calls happen at two different points during the life cycle of the service order. The Schedule link is used within 24 hours of accepting a service order, which makes it your first call and contact with the end customer. The Confirm Appointment link is used to make your second call and contact with the end customer. The second call is made 24 hours before you are scheduled to be on the job site. I'll use the Schedule link to demonstrate how these two links work. Click on the Main Action button, and the pop-up box will appear that prompts you through the phone call. Use the information at the top of the box to contact the end customer. There's also an option to check the box if the customer is not available. When you confirm the details of the order, you'll also confirm the service location. When you confirm the order, you can enter service location notes, like a gate code, for instance. But don't delete anything that's already here. Whatever you add will also be added directly to the service order. Confirming the service is a short version of the scope of work. Review this information with the customer. If the scope seems wrong or you think more work may be needed, click the Edit link and enter what you need. You can edit special instructions, but again, don't delete anything that's already there. After you contact the customer, select the most appropriate option from the drop-down for the outcome of your call. If you did not assign a provider when you accepted a service order, the Assign Provider link will allow you to do so. A provider must be assigned to an order 24 hours before the service date and time occurs. This link and the Manage Route link are also very helpful for your company if you have multiple providers doing multiple orders on ServiceLive, and you need to see orders grouped together so that dispatching and routing can be easily set up. To assign a provider, you'll click the Main Action button, and a pop-up will appear on the screen. You'll have basic service order details and be able to select the appropriate provider. The Manage Route link contains orders in accepted, active, and problem status. This link allows you to filter the service orders by appointment date or even by provider. You will notice that while in the Manage Route link, you are able to reassign a provider on this page. You only have to click the blue Reassign link below the provider's name and reassign to the provider you choose. If up to this point you have not assigned a provider to the order, remember that you can assign the provider when accepting the order, or in the Assign Provider link, you will see a red triangle to the left of the order, indicating that this step must be completed to ensure the provider can check into the order using the IVR or mobile app. Just as a reminder, the Confirm Appointment link operates exactly the same as the Schedule link. This is your second phone call and contact with the end customer. The second phone call happens 24 hours before the service order goes active. This will let you confirm everything with the customer and therefore minimize the chances that you arrive on site and there's no one home, or that you have the wrong parts for the job. This is also an opportunity to give the customer a more specific arrival time if it's available. If you are not using the ServiceLive Pro mobile app, you must print paperwork for the service order to take with you to the job site. The paperwork contains both a provider copy and customer copy. Remember that the provider copy of the paperwork will need to be signed and uploaded to the service order as proof of completion. This link is the only one without an action column on the right side of the screen. Instead, we see a column of checkboxes on the left side. By selecting the checkboxes, you can print paperwork for several orders as needed. Once you select the order you need to print paperwork for, you'll see the yellow PDF button show up on the right-hand side of the screen. When you click View PDF, you'll confirm that you'll view the customer and provider copy both. Clicking View PDF will open a separate window with a PDF view of the paperwork. You'll notice that the service order number is available at the top of each page. We first have the customer copy. You'll see a service order description, followed by specific tasks to complete. You will also see the contact information that the customer can use after you leave. Next, you'll find the customer's copy of the signature page. Both the provider and the end customer need to print, sign, and date this page. The end customer will keep this copy. Next, we have the provider copy of the service order with the same type of information with one exception. There are instructions for using the IVR system to mark the arrival and departure time in the service order. The provider copy of the signature page is next. This copy also requires the provider and customer to print, sign, and date. This is the copy that needs to be retained, scanned, and uploaded to the order so it can be sent to the buyer for payment. As I mentioned before, if you use the mobile app, you will not need to print this paperwork. You will be able to have the customer sign a digital copy of the service order. You can then enter the customer's email address to send them a copy of the paperwork. The copies that you need will automatically upload to the service order. The Current Orders link holds all service orders that are currently active. This means that the service order window has started. This link makes it easy for an administrator or dispatcher to find a service order for a provider who is on site and may have an issue. In this link, the main action will be to add a note. This note will be visible to the buyer and is a great way to stay in contact with them. This note can be information about what time you are arriving or anything occurring while on site. There are also two secondary actions that we see for the first time in the Current Orders link. The first we'll look at is Time on Site. Time on Site is available for when you aren't able to mark your time on site using the IVR or the mobile app. There are times where you may forget to call in, or maybe you are out of cell service. This may also happen if you are using the mobile app, so it's important to know how to enter your arrival and departure time manually. When you select Time on Site, the link will take you to the service order details in the Time on Site tab where you will see a table. Below that table is a blue link that reads, "Did you miss check-in from IVR or mobile? Click here." When you click on the link, you will now be able to add the date and time of arrival and departure after you have selected the reason why you missed the entry. The Current Orders link is also the first time we see the Report a Problem action. If you click Report a Problem, it brings you to the page of the service order you use to notify the buyer of a problem. When the service order opens, you are in the Report a Problem tab. It is important to select the most accurate description of the problem from the drop-down. The additional information entered should be a detailed account of the problem encountered. Submitting this information will put the order into problem status and will notify the buyer to review the situation and reach out to you via phone or email to discuss. Be aware that both you and the buyer can put an order in problem status. The Job Done link is where you put the order into completed status by acknowledging that the work is finished and updating the final documentation so that the buyer can review, confirm, and close for payment. These steps can also be completed in the mobile app. Once in the Job Done link, find the service order that needs to be moved into completed status. The main action in this link is Complete Order. You'll need to confirm that the work on the service order has been done in the pop-up window that appears. Then there are a few things you must do to ensure that the order can be closed by the buyer for payment. Resolution comments. This is a detailed account of what happened, what you did, while on site. Service order pricing. Assuming all went well during the service and no changes or add-ons were done, the labor and part amounts you enter in the final price box should match the totals in the maximum price column. Depending on the buyer, there may be applicable custom reference fields to enter. The Documents and Photos section is where you would upload your signed signature pages and any before and after pictures of the job if your buyer requires them. Once you update all of these sections, click Submit for Payment at the bottom of the screen. Now we have the Revisit Needed link. In this example, there are no orders under Revisit Needed. If you mark an appointment as Revisit Needed in the mobile app, you would use this link to view the details of that job site revisit. Resolve a problem is the final step in the Report a Problem process. Remember that you or the buyer can report a problem on a service order. You can do so under the Current Orders link. Once you report a problem, it will be sent to the buyer, and you should have an offline conversation with the buyer to resolve that problem. Once there's a solution, either you or the buyer will come to the Resolve a Problem link to enter the resolution, which takes the order out of problem status and places it into the link for the next action needed. Once again, when the solution is available, select the main action to Issue Resolution. This will open a screen where you can confirm the solution reached. An order on ServiceLive can only be canceled by the buyer, but because the order is a legally binding contract, the provider may have to agree or disagree with the cancellation. When the buyer processes the cancellation, the order moves into Pending Cancel Status and will be on the Cancellations link of the Order Management tab. If, however, the provider learns that the service is canceled, they can open the order, change the substatus by using the drop-down on the Summary tab, and save the change. You will see the two different statuses here that are based on whether the buyer or the provider processes the cancellation. Let's look at two different scenarios. If a customer tells you, the provider, that they are requesting to cancel the service order, you should click on the View Order Action button to open the order to the Summary tab. Click on the yellow button named Change below Substatus and select the applicable cancellation reason from the drop-down. Then click the yellow Submit button to save the change and notify the buyer. You should follow this action with a call or email to the buyer as well. In the second scenario, the end customer tells the buyer that the service needs to be canceled, so the buyer will process the cancellation and move the order to Pending Cancel Status. This process allows the buyer to elect whether they will pay the provider for the cancellation or not. In most cases, if the buyer does the cancellation within 24 hours or less of the service date and time, they will put a courtesy payment on the cancellation. If, however, it is more than 24 hours until the service date and time, some buyers may cancel for $0. If you see an order in Pending Cancel Status on the Cancellations link, you need to take action by clicking the View Order Main Action button. This will take you to the service order details, where you must either agree or disagree with the cancellation amount. Remember, the amount paid for the cancellation depends on the buyer. If you agree with the cancellation, ServiceLive will automatically update the order to canceled status, and the payment offered by the buyer will be transferred to your ServiceLive wallet. If you do not agree with the terms of the cancellation, perhaps you completed the work or would like a different amount for the cancellation, You will select Disagree and fill out the appropriate information. Lastly, we have the Awaiting Payment link. These are the service orders that you completed and submitted for payment and are awaiting the buyer to close on their end. Typically, this can take 2 to 3 business days once all the required pieces of information are submitted. Just as a reminder, those required pieces of information are detailed resolution comments, the final price of the order, any applicable custom reference fields, and any required documents and photos. So today we explored a few tools that assist you with managing your service orders, as well as how to manage your ServiceLive funds. If you need assistance outside of our regular business hours, or would like to review information about ServiceLive when you have time, please visit our training site at training.servicelive.com. Once you arrive on the training site, you can click Provider Training to see a list of all the available content. Some of the content is to read, and other sections have videos. If you have any further questions, there are some helpful phone numbers on the screen that you are free to call whenever you need assistance. For assistance with the ServiceLive website, including service order questions or updates, or even general questions about the platform, call 1-888-549-0640, option 1. For assistance with insurance and license information, whether it is information you supplied to us, need to give us, or general questions about requirements for insurance, licensing, or background check information, call 1-888-549-0640, option 2. For assistance with SPN information, including any SPN invitations you receive, the status of SPNs you've joined, or questions, concerns, or updates to your ServiceLive profile, call 1-888-549-0640, option 4. Thank you again for your time today and for continuing to be a part of ServiceLive.